This particular video has the potential to be rather a long one, as there have been some incredible changes to the way that schedules are created in Revit. So without much more of ado, let's take a look at it in the program. Starting with the sample MEP projects located in your common folder. In the project browser, scroll down until we find Sheet, number M701, Mechanical Schedules. Double click on it to open. Here we can see two schedules. I'm really interested in the mechanical equipment schedule. Remembering the new double click tool, I can double click on the schedule to open it. The first thing that we'll see is that each column has a header that's very similar to a certain spreadsheet program I could mention. In addition to this, the schedules have taken on the what you see is what you get type of look. Apart from these labels that head up the columns, any change to the column width is reflected in the sheet. Notice how if I drag the width of the column on the sheet and open the schedule column is expanded. Let's do that again. In the sheet, change the width of the column, go back to the schedule, and the column width has changed. The entire ribbon for schedules has been upgraded in this release too. Let's take a look at the enhancements. Selecting one of the cells, and I can actually choose where the parameters come from. This is just the same as going to the Properties palette and clicking on Fields. We can insert and delete columns, resize columns, and use the hide options. We can add or delete rows. Notice that the insert for a row is greyed out until I start looking at the header. Here I can add above selected or below selected, so that I can add cells that makes this schedule look a little bit more like a spreadsheet. I can merge cells too. Select some cells, click on Merge, and we now have a single cell in which we could insert an image. In this instance, browse to your common folder and click on the Acme TIFF file, click on Open, and we now have an image. We can resize the cells to suit our image. It's now also possible to shade columns. If I select a column, I can click on Shading and add shading to an entire column. This particular feature also works with conditional formatting, so that conditional formatting and this shading is applied when we get to see the view on the sheet. Back in the schedule, I can also select columns and apply borders to them. These borders differ from the default ones that we might assign at the beginning. So here I could select wide lines, click on Outside, click on OK, and go back to my schedule. And here we should see that we've got wide lines around the outside of the last two columns. Let's see what else is new. Also notice the greater than and less than symbol associated with the mechanical equipment schedule title. If we take a look back in the sheet, we'll notice that the greater than and less than symbols are not displaying. This is because this is a field. It's the parameter name from the schedule. So what I can do is clear this cell. We could merge these two cells and then add from the schedule a parameter which is the view name. and see the results back in the sheet. We can then also apply a font and a font size to the text. This is in addition to the Appearance tab, where we now have title text, header text, and body text, which can either use the system defaults or the same text styles as we're using in the rest of the project, making it much easier to coordinate the results and ensure consistent documentation. In addition to these graphical enhancements, we've also had enhancements to schedulable categories. Although not all of them apply to Revit MEP, we can now schedule generic families, entourage, structural path reinforcement, structural area reinforcement, structural fabric area, structural beam systems, detail items, pads, levels, grids, architectural columns, and roof soffits. The room calculation point has also been added to furniture and casework, which may not help the MEP guys, but speciality equipment and generic models are sometimes used in the MEP environment. All in all, schedules have seen one of the biggest improvements in Revit in this release.